basically, if the Fed in the 1920s in particular, if the Fed was inflicted on America by a foreign power, it would have been considered an act of war.
You're absolutely right. And when it comes to all of these unintended consequences, wait until you see what's coming.
Well, yeah.
Because the things that they did that caused the Great Depression and all of the things that you just talked about, the things that they did, the manipulations, were minor compared to zero interest rates and more than $3 trillion of currency creation. This is the greatest manipulation that there has been of an economy in history. What's interesting is, it all went to Wall Street, and we've got this sort of fake recovery. And if it wasn't fake, you would see what you see is that they pumped a bunch of currency into Wall Street, into the base money supply, and the Wilshire 5000 total market cap index, which is basically the value of the stock market, went up almost exactly with it. I mean, the correlation was astounding. But tax revenues, after about 2 years of this, leveled off and started falling. And that means if Main Street was getting it, tax revenues would be increasing, and that would be absolute proof that this was working. What this was theft from the populace to Wall Street. It was a gift. Ben Bernanke just transferred a bunch of people's lifetimes to Wall Street. They get to ride around for free on this, basically. Wall Street doesn't produce much of anything that somebody would open up their wallet and buy. They don't produce a good or a service that you can live in, eat, drive around in, or wear. And so they're fairly useless, actually, except for handing back and forth digits and hoping to gain more of them. And they're usually handing back and forth your digits, and they're skimming off the top.
Oh, yeah. No, we're told it's a blood bank, but actually it's just a congregation of vampires. It's necessary. It's going to get you healthy. It's like, why can I not be killed now? And here's the strange thing. Can you just trace to people? I mean, I complain about the welfare state quite a bit, and the welfare state, which is the transfer of money from the productive classes to the less productive or non-productive classes, is a big issue. But if you widen it out, the welfare state that is going the other way from the poor. I mean, when you have inflation and you have money, you have financial advisors, you got accountants and so on, you can do a lot to hedge it. You can do a lot to minimize it and so on. Same thing with tax increases and regulatory increases as well. But if you're poor and they're cranking out a whole bunch of money, I mean, it's just evaporating in your bank account. It is horrendous. I mean, as we know, inflation hits those on fixed incomes with little income or with less savings because it matters. If you lose 10% of $5 million, well, you can still get by. You lose 10% of $500, you are down quite a lot. And so how does it go from being created out of thin air by the Fed into the pockets of the Wall Street? Help people understand that weird river that had these corpses of currency float down.
Well, whenever new currency is created, it's the first users that get the benefit. Everybody else then gets punished. By the way, you talked about, first, you talked about the redistribution of wealth, the government taxing productive individuals and giving it to non-productive individuals. I mean, if they're going to punish success and reward failure, what are they going to get more of? But yes, most people don't. I interviewed Ron Paul back in 2008 when he was running for president, or 2007, and he was talking about welfare for the rich, and way back then. And it is true, and this is perpetrated by everybody that can afford a lobbyist. You got to be able to afford your own lobbyist to get a piece of this pie. So it's an absolutely horrible thing. The founding fathers of the United States would be turning in their graves.
Right. So the Fed creates the money. Mm-hmm. And then where does it go so that it ends up buying a yacht in the Hamptons or whatever they do out there?
Well, when the Fed creates